Hello again. I'm going to try this one. I did this yesterday. You may have noticed it disappeared. But I realized I was misreading my notes, so I thought I'd clarify and get this correct this time. So, this is the first in a series of discussions about different game moves, openings, and defenses that have been captured in collected games from the Pan American Intercollegiate Chess Championships the last 2 years. We have quite a database of games collected from those competitions, and they're very instructive for preparing for general competition, I think, because the top teams in this competition also tend to be the top collegiate players internationally, and they also bring together, they probably represent the lines that are being taught in most coaching groups. So I think it's good and helpful for preparing for competition to look at what's being played in these competitions. I had the honor of working with the Missouri Science and Technology University students that competed as a team for this competition, and I'm continuing to work with them. We were just a team that went there for experience. We were not one of the top teams set up to um, collect that was in any way setting up to try to go after the championship. As this is the qualifier for the national championship, Final Four championship in the United States collegiate ranks. But that doesn't mean that players such as myself and others can't learn from playing in an event like that. And I was glad to help these young chess players have the chance to have that experience, because it is kind of a once in a lifetime experience to play with the caliber of players that you have the potential opportunity to play in this competition. I hope more and more collegiate students get that chance and that opportunity. Um, so the interesting thing about the games we've collected, we know there are 20 possible first moves in chess, and of those 20, 10 have appeared in these collected games, which is a lot more than I expected, to be honest, when I first started looking at this. What I'm going to tell you is where they rank as far as um, the frequency of use by Pan Am players, and then also um, where we're looking for the where we also expect to see um, where it falls in my move database. Those of you know from my old Twitch streams that move database. I have a move database where I've ranked. I have ranked the strength of different moves in different situations for building study lines for my students, and it's nice to see the comparison. So, all right, you know what? Prime Gaming here is looking at having A3 or H3. Those are two moves that did not get picked. Okay, so let's go. We're going to work backwards here. So the tenth most common first opening move that came into play is Knight C3. Interesting. It's a nice centralized knight, attacks the center four square, so there's good fundamentals to it. I think knight moves in general, in my opinion, are a little bit slow. I think you got to be a very experienced player to pull off a knight move as an opening move. In my database, my move database, it actually falls in the third position among the 21st moves, and so that's interesting. It's better than I would have expected. My database recommends D5 for the response line to knight A3, and it mainly has to do with taking that center. The weakness of a knight in the open center is that a pawn is stronger. Probably so. Yeah, you're likely true. One of the MS&T students is actually working with the Catalan some right now, so that'll be an interesting exploration this year. Um, so we can. So I like the D5 idea because it has the potential of chasing that knight out of its nice center starting position. All right, so let's go to the next option. I'm going to delete these off because I found out last time it just gets in the way. So the ninth, the one that came up in ninth, again, this is a surprising one to me. Knight A3, interesting choice. It ranks ninth among the 10 choices that were played, and in 10th in my particular database line. So that's actually stronger than I expected. But I assume it's because of knight development, probably. It gets a little bit of a favor. In this case, my move database would recommend E5. Would be what I would teach for confronting this particular opening move. Okay, let's try the next one here. So we're ready for move. The 8th move was E3. A lot of fundamentals there. Likely we're letting a bishop and queen come out. So there's it's active, but not quite as strong in the center as you would like to see in a good fundamental opening move. It ranks 5th though, which is surprisingly strong out of 20 in my move database. And again, E5 becomes the response line for balancing center control here. So, okay, let's get off that one. The number 7 opening was G3. Fianchettos, kingside fianchettos, it's not an uncommon thing. There's a lot of folks, and in a competition that has this many high-level players, they can probably get away with this more than the average player. So that's probably not surprising to see that might be a choice they would look at. Ranked 7th for them, and ranked 7th in my move database study as well. Okay, and for that we would use D5. In general, for fianchettos, just try to clutter I like the idea of cluttering the center and forcing the action to the edges of the board. Okay, now to the next one. We have the 6th position. We had F4. We know the F4 lines from of course, King's Gambit ideas and Stonewall ideas. I'm sure there's some other openings that feature F4 play. Beginning players often get thrown by those moves because they hear that mantra of never move the F-pawn, And this is just a choice that there are times when you can get away with it. It's reasonable. I always tell my students that every rule has exceptions. Every technical rule has exceptions. So this is an example where that would be the case. With F4 being in the 6th position, it falls 12th in my move database. So it has its weaknesses. So certainly would take a skilled player that has a lot of experience and patience to go ahead and make this work. It falls in the 12th position on my database. Okay, and the response line, again, much like the fianchetto, just balancing the center. If you play E5, obviously the pawn you drop a pawn, so take D5, take what the board gives you in the center here. So the 5th position is the other fianchetto, the queenside fianchetto idea, B3. It falls 8th in my database, and again we use that center control of D5. Now, why not E5 here? I really can't give you a good idea why, except that it's a little bit harder to defend, maybe, when the bishop comes into the center, into its fianchetto hole here on B7 or B2. But I think the idea is just to get that center outpost starting to get built while they're building their fianchetto. They're working in the corner. B3 falls 8th position in my move database. Now, This will be a surprise to a lot of folks. Not a surprise that it was used in the fourth position as English c4. A lot of players use this. You see this. You see this in a lot of competition. Ironically, in my move database, it ranks 15th out of the possible 20. I don't know if there's just a bias in the particular engine I was using against it, but it just didn't fare well in the rankings. But it's obviously there are a lot of accomplished English players out there that can make this work. But again, like any opening, you just got to study it and own it to make it work on your side. My database would, my move database would indicate go ahead and play an e5 to balance this. Basically, I believe this forces the, because I like to consider English players, and this may be wrong. I am a Class C player, so I'm very capable of making an analysis mistake here. But I believe that most English players are basically Queen's Gambit players in disguise. And by playing e5, you take that option away and force them into what I believe is called a white Sicilian format, which I think is a little bit more difficult form of the English to play. So now, let's go back here and number third position, knight f3, another nice solid center entry with the knight. It ranks fourth in my database ideas, my move database. And again, we're going to take a center position here with d5, just trying to match center pressure in the center, and also to take e4 away so it doesn't transpose to the basic e4 openings that many of us grew up with. So, and many of us actually still play in our full lines. Okay, let's pull this back. The second most common, I should say, in the collection games we collected was d4. A nice solid opening. I love d4 play myself personally. It's my favorite move, opening move. Ranked second, not only in the database collection for the Pan Am games we collected, but also in our move strength database. And I think it's because it takes that solid, just hard outpost position in the center, and it declares a center position, declares strength, and you get to start building. It still holds openings for good development from your knights and bishops. Okay. I teach knight f6. Knight f6 is what ranked as our best response. You see this a lot in high level play, and it's my opinion that it's used. Knight f6 is used because they want to try to avoid Queen's Gambit concepts. I think it shows a healthy respect for Queen's Gambit lines, because when you play d5, you're just walking right into the strength of the Queen's Gambit, and so just maybe try to take an opponent out of those. We know that most d4 players in competition, the higher percentage of them are going to play Queen's Gambit, so let's force them into something that's a little bit less comfortable, that doesn't immediately activate the different Gambit tactical options. So I like knight f6. I like what higher level players do with this as an opening move, defense, and counter to d4. Okay. So the number one line, both in as far as number of options played in the Pan Am competition games that we collected, as well as in my move strength database, was e4. The most common, I believe, probably still the most common first move among players in general in chess. I mean, it has great fundamentals. Many of us in great differing move options. There are so many move options, opening options that are built off e4 that it takes 3, sometimes 4 moves before you actually know what opening an opponent is really going to go for in an e4 opening. So you've got lots of options that keep black having to be very precise and flexible to be able to balance whatever attack you're going to come in at. I prefer and my move database preferred to just balance this with e5. I know a lot of people like Sicilian against e4. Got a lot of respect for Sicilian players. Um, I think that you have to really study the Sicilian to make it work. Okay, hey, good to see you, Eric. Good to see you, Eric. I'm just doing a little discussion on the on some of the Pan Am information we've collected. Um, so anyway, if e5, I like the idea of balance play. I think it keeps you in good position for flexing for the different e4 openings that are possible that might be planned and coming ahead for you. So e5. All right, guys, these are going to be short, brief runs. This was just a discussion of first move options. Um, I will probably, I'm not sure if I'll get through all of these, but I'll probably be focusing my black variations on basically e4 and d4 continuations, because of being where most of the players I'm working with are focusing their white opening developments on. But we'll just see what I have time for and how far we can get as far as looking at looking deeper into some of the other opening lines and defense positions. Because obviously, if we are to play in terms, we've got to prepare from the black side as well. And so we probably need to look at all 10 of these over time. So we'll be exploring these through the year. Just little short streams like this. I appreciate your time. I hope it's been of interest, and maybe gets you thinking about things that you want to do in your play. So, all right. So that'll be it for this particular version. And now that I remember how to read my notes, we should be able to move forward with these down the road. Try to do one one a day. So of course they'll be saved on. Of course, they're on Twitch for about 2 weeks, and then also I'll be moving them, archiving them over to my YouTube channel, which is of the same TRJ camp. If you want to look back at them later for more thoughts and ideas, reflection. So thanks a lot for your time. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope it was useful information, and have a great day. You're welcome.